Welcome to Snap by Siinda, your gateway to key insights into the world of business regulations, innovations, and trends. In just 10 minutes per episode, we'll provide you with a concise snapshot of what matters most in the business landscape. In today's episode, we explore the State of Digital Decade report by EU. Let's dive in.
Today, we're going to talk about EU regulatory news, and the one that I chose for today is the State of the Digital Decade report. So what's the issue about? This is the first time that the European Commission is publishing a report which is called the State of the Digital Decade. So the idea is that it builds from the former DESI reports that the EU has done before. DESI was the Digital Evolution Standardization Impact. And it includes also an assessment of the EU performance towards the Europe 2030 objectives and targets, which are focusing on 4 pillars. So you see here the 4 pillars. The first one is digital skills, then we have digital infrastructure, the digitalization of businesses, and the digitalization of public services. So those two last points are really important for a lot of our Siinda members who are helping businesses digitize, but also more and more helping public services in order to help them with their transition. And don't forget that when we're talking about digital transition, everything now is looked at under the prism of the 2030 objectives. Sorry, and it means that it has to be sustainable. So the whole set is also to take into account how we can do digital, but green digital evolution. So how is the EU doing? This comes from the press release from the European Commission when they issued the Digital Decade report. So you can see here on the graph you have in the light colors, let's say, you have the situation now. And in the darker color, you have the percentage of the target achieved measured against the 2030 targets. So you can see that we're doing quite good on some of the part, like the very high capacity network, for example, is quite okay. The edge node and the semiconductors, for example, are really much more of an issue, and the quantum computing is also very, very much at its infancy. Regarding the digital transformation of businesses, you see that the digital intensity of the SMBs here is really progressing, but there are some improvements, that can be done really on cloud take-up, on big data take-up, and even more important, on AI take-up. AI is just also at its infancy at the moment. So the report, the State of the Digital Decade report, also contains a call to actions for member states, and it's really putting them in front of their responsibilities and asking them to act to address the investment gap, to accelerate the EU digital transformation, and also to reach the Digital Decade policy program goals. So it has to be both levels, the EU, but also the member states and the national level. So on the digital infrastructure, the 3 major findings of the Digital Decade report are about connectivity, investment, and semiconductors. So you saw, the connectivity is progressing, but we need to secure the connectivity to really reach the target of the gigabit coverage for all by 2030. On the investment front, the idea here is to add investment of up to 200 billion euros in 5G coverage, and also to boost the capacity of the network in rural areas, which are still very important in Europe, as you know. And last but not least, the focus is also put on semiconductors and to boost the semiconductors production. So at the moment, it's estimated that Europe represents 10% of the global market share, and the idea is to bring this 10% to 20% by 2030. So it's really a big push. On the digitalization of businesses, the three key objectives there have 5 key objectives, but the 3 objectives that are straightened out by the Digital Decade report is that on the cloud computing, at least 75% of the EU enterprises should adopt in their operation cloud computing services or big data and or artificial intelligence. So this is the target for 2030. For 2032, more than 90% of SMEs should reach at least a basic level of digital intensity. So basic level means that we measure the use of different digital technology, at an enterprise level, and we cross-reference that all over Europe. And last but not least, one of the key objectives of the EU is to double the number of unicorns between now and 2030. Also, 2 other broader, let's say, principal objectives are also to raise the awareness of the benefits of digitalizing businesses, so really enhance the policies on what Siinda partners are doing, and also promote the digital innovation hubs. The EU has put that in place and is now really pushing in some various programs also to get more digital hubs in place in the various member states. Regarding the digitalization of public services, so the Digital Decade report targets provide for 100% online accessibility of key public services. So again, still by 2030. And the idea is to have this 100% online accessibility in 3 major areas. The first one is the online interaction between public administrations and citizens, or public administrations and businesses. Second point relates to electronic health reports. So the idea to get information on electronic health reports access by 2030, and also to secure electronic identification with the EID program. So this is also leading to the full deployment of the European Digital Identity Wallet, which is expected by 2030, and which will be complemented by the digital euro, which has been just proposed last June. If we go now to the digital skills, there are 3 major aims. The first one is to increase basic digital skills of at least 90% of EU citizens aged from 16 to 74. The second is to reach 20 million ICT specialists by 2030. And the third is to prioritize the investment in high quality education, and also to foster women participation in STEM. STEM meaning science, technology, education, and mathematics, because we're seeing that there's still a lack of female representation in science and mathematics all over the EU countries. And the idea would be to both the EU and members to do that. So the next steps, what the Digital Decade report is pushing for is to, it will transform, this report will be transformed, into concrete recommendations to EU member states on several actions, measures, and policies. And this will be done also through national roadmaps, which are expected to be published by October 9th of this year.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of Snap by Siinda. If you would like to explore more topics, check out our social media and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.